Happy Halloween! Oh, what the hell? Oh, come on, I missed Halloween? Jeez. What am I talking about? It's Christmas!
Oh, the weather outside is like but the fire is so delightful. And since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Then we finally...
It's not worth it. Christmas just makes me feel lonely. At least I got trick-or-treaters on Halloween. Let's just see what Vern has at his house. Oh my god.
Marshall. What are you doing in our house? Again.
Oh, shit. Enter Monolith Studios, the creators of our two contestants today. These creations are the Condemned and F.E.A.R series, two horror games that many have enjoyed for years and years. And when I say that, I mean since 2005. Literally, both were released in the same year. You believe this shit? One studio, two series. Geniuses! Back when I was a wee lad of, 13, I would constantly stay up and compulsively watch the trailers for these two, eagerly awaiting the day that I could finally play these two horrific masterpieces. But of course, Mama Roy wasn't having any of that. Marshall, you better not be playing those scary video games. Mom, I'm in my 20s now, I can play what I want. Not in my house, you can't. I don't even live with you anymore. Then, the day came that I finally got my hands on both games. And what did I get? I don't know, they're alright. What I'm trying to say is that I didn't get to play these games until 2012. And in all honesty, yeah, they were both scary. But they had both definitely aged quite a bit since they were released. But that's not why we're here. Gameplay, out the window. Scares, that's what we want to look at. Which one is scarier? And that's why I'm here. First off, we're going to look at theme and presentation. These two, despite being from the same developer in the same year, are amazingly different titles. They both have their, and I hate to say it, gimmicks. One is more faster and relies on gunplay and a slow-mo feature, while the other revolves around melee combat and frequent crime scene investigations. Some moments work better than others, and some suffer from aging horror cliches. But when it works, it really works, for both games. Oh no! Oh no! I hope there isn't a skeleton! But I gotta give props to F.E.A.R. Even if scares work or not, these moments really stick with you. The situations they have set up are pretty memorable. The personification of Alma Wade's ghost is used quite effectively at times. The same goes for the serial killer-esque atmosphere that Condemned gives off. Both games reveal their stories retroactively, and it's in these moments that really instill a great sense of dread. Near the end of Condemned, the player finds himself trapped in a derelict farmhouse. The implication of the said building's history is eerily creepy, accompanied by tight, claustrophobic areas that are dimly lit to act as fighting hazards. As well, you got the bad guy, Serial Killer X, running through the house, constantly popping up unwanted as he hunts the player down. It soon becomes apparent that this son of a bitch knows the house like the back of his dick, and we're expected to outsmart this guy? Yeah, right, no thanks. I can't even plan my way through my own house, thank you very much. The F.E.A.R series isn't so subtle. Most things pop up unexpectedly and literally jump out at you. That is, in between lengthy gun battles with hordes of enemies. However, in F.E.A.R 2, the player has to navigate his way through a decimated elementary school. That's when things get spooky. Reality twists the further you go and preys on the player. It's scenes like this that I enjoy most as a gamer. Unfortunately, the F.E.A.R series lacks these subtle, scary moments. Sure, a few here, a few there, but compared to the amount of quiet, stalking, horrid juice seas that almost literally oozes from Condemned's levels, it's almost non-existent. Maybe Condemned 2 lightened up on the subtlety, what with F.E.A.R being one of those aspects, but Condemned 1's command of terror is amazing. Seriously, play it and get back to me when you get to the mall. But does the story fit the atmosphere? In Condemned, you play as an FBI detective plunged into a city falling deep into insanity. Grisly murders are popping up more and more with the surface of the antagonist, serial killer X, who is set on dispatching other murderers using their own MOs. As the player searches on, you begin to question his own sanity as the city around him grows more twisted and warps his focus at times. Now, maybe I lost focus, but the ending confused the hell out of me. Something about a monster who began influencing citizens and was feeding off their insanity. I don't know, it kind of altered the atmosphere a bit, sacrificing some of the mysterious horror air that infected the game. Now, F.E.A.R on the other hand. In F.E.A.R you play as a Spec Ops soldier named Point Man. His team, also named F.E.A.R, is tasked with cases involving supernatural or paranormal phenomena. One day, you're charged with finding and capturing a guy named Paxton Fettelcini, who sees the tech corporation using a battalion of psychically controlled clone soldiers. As mindless as this is, this setup provides a good number of faceless drones to go through. But that's not scary. No, the real shit goes down when this little girl named Alma Wade shows up. She frequently pops up, leaving behind a trail of bodies and subjects you to surreal, nightmarish dream segments. As the hunt for Paxton goes on, Alma's visions become more intense. That is until you find out that the leader of the Greybeards is actually Ezio Auditore Nukem. Alright, so both have their potential for what they aim for. How do the theatrics hold up? Well, according to Monolith, Condemned was heavily influenced by the films Seven and Silence of the Lambs. This is pretty apparent with the serial killer aspect and the grungy overtones. F.E.A.R, on the other hand, is broadly influenced by the Matrix trilogy and Japanese horror films such as And while some would say that Silence of the Lambs and Seven are not true horror films, more terrifying suspense flicks, the undertaking to produce an effort to meld genres the way F.E.A.R does is pretty difficult, and surprisingly, it pays off pretty well. There'll be times when you get used to blasting dudes and dispatching them pretty quickly, and then this happens quite a few times, while the entire time you got this little girl watching you from the shadows and shit! This is why I believe that the gunplay is handled pretty competently. These little breathers take your mind off of the fact that you're playing a horror game and BAM! Shit's right in your face! Don't even know what to do. Condemned, like I said before, is all about subtlety. You got guys running around knocking shit over when you don't expect it. But my favorite thing about Condemned, especially the first one, Criminal Origins, is the atmosphere. Like, holy shit! This might just be me, but I can only think of two games where the environment got me so unsettled that I didn't want to move, and that would be Condemned 1 and the first Dead Space. Like, damn, so much goes into it. The lighting, architecture, sounds. Try playing it in a dark room and see what happens. With this in mind, what about the sequels? And just a note, I'm not going to bring in F.E.A.R 3. Why? Well, it wasn't actually made by Monolith. There is no Condemned 3 yet, and also it kinda sucks. You see, to me, F.E.A.R 2 is better than F.E.A.R 1, and Condemned 2 is not as good as the first one. F.E.A.R 2 really cranked up the terror during the gunplay. Like I said before, this school is the best part of the game. It's not even that long, but it's my favorite scene in the entire series. I mean, there is literally something scary in every corner of the map. They throw everything at you. Even more scary is the level's design. There's horrifying pictures, presumably drawn by students plastering the walls, which detail scenes of violence and are quite effective at giving the player hints about the school's deadly past. Condemned 2 is pretty bare at these moments at times, and instead attempts to lure and instigate the player into a specific mindset. This works when it needs to, but if you're well initiated, which by chance you may be if you willingly decided to play this, the scares lose efficiency and have the same effect as one would say, I don't know, a bump in the dark. This also comes at the sacrifice of the serial killer overtones, as Condemned 2 has its eye on a more mythological story involving cults and twisted monsters. This, while missing out on criminal origins theme, is strangely the game's saving grace. The sense of confusion often thrusted upon the player works well at points, like I said before, but largely lacks the punch and end quickly, usually leaving the player to fight off dudes with their fists. It's these little things that make Condemned 1 better than its sequel, Bloodshot, and in turn gives F.E.A.R 2 the upper hand. So, with both games having already been talked about, which one is scarier? Okay, listen, without talking about gameplay and just focusing on which series is more terrifying, I had to come to the conclusion that F.E.A.R is not as scary as Condemned. This is largely due to the fact that F.E.A.R has a tendency to repeat its thrills. There's only so many times you can watch the same guy disintegrate into ashes or have the screen flicker out. I will say this though, this was a fairly close call as both series gained plenty points for the superb execution of atmosphere, theatrics, and environment. These are two massively different series with their own identities, and in themselves provide the player with unique themes and scares. I just believe that Condemned pulls it off better in the long run. The game just exudes unease, and while the scares are memorable, is guaranteed to put a chill down your spine. While F.E.A.R is pretty scary, I have to say that near the end of both games, though, I was more in tune with the action than the horror. But for what it's worth, the F.E.A.R and Condemned series is definitely worth a look. It deserves a spot on horror lovers' shelves. As it is now, dear mother of God!